Fundamentals, phase 2, day 49. Get that back on track now. Been off by a day because I put it incorrectly in the spreadsheet on one day and I just read it off the spreadsheet every day. So that's why I've been off since like day 46. I think I wrote as day 47 or something. Anyway, day 49, positive. 91.9 kilograms. I think I'll be plateauing, give or take around here with my current diet. Because I don't want to necessarily gain a hell of a lot more mass whilst I'm still gaining flexibility, trying to break up some of those links that I have in my shoulder and posterior chain, really make sure that everything's flexible to avoid injury. Injury a lot of the time when you start doing a bulk cycle is just because stuff's misaligned and you're screwed up or crossed up in some way, pressing harder on one side, not the other side, and causes something to snap or just be out of position, which makes your flexibility suck even more. Something that's worth avoiding. In my instance anyway, it's not like I've got a professional career to meet the demands of, so flexibility, lots of flexibility. I do that as much as I lift weights a day. I do flexibility stuff, mainly posterior chain flexibility and shoulders. They're my weakest points, but everything in between that as well. So that's been going decently. I went really hard at the gym. I did an hour hard cardio warm up. I did 30 minutes of really intense stretching. Did an hour of ridiculous weights, hypertrophy specific training still. A mate asked me about progressive overload and training to failure. I'm not training to failure ever. It gets to a stage when you've been lifting weights, since you've been a child essentially, that when your last rep is going to be. That's the last one you take. Some bodybuilders, I guess, and maybe athletes, professional athletes, are going to be trained to failure and have somebody that's a spotter to lift it off them if they're really trying to, push that lactate or lactic acid threshold. That's fine. Lactic acid, or pushing past the lactic acid threshold, is important in my opinion. A lot of people say, you usually hear it, those words being uttered, never, or train until your lactic acid threshold. That's not true in my experience. I think from my basic, terrible, layman's understanding of biochemistry and the endocrinology system that's in place in our body, that you in fact gain, stressing that lactic threshold and pushing beyond it is what will make you secrete more testosterone and other hormones to improve your performance, which is why every sport I've ever trained, you are pushing past that lactic threshold. Not necessary to failure. That till failure term gets thrown around a lot. It's, probably a little bit dated or just inspecific. What you're actually trying to do every time you're training at this stage in phase 2 is to push that lactic threshold. And whether you're running and cycling, or whether you're going to the gym, it doesn't have to be high intensity, but that high repetition means that you will start getting, at some stage, hopefully, a slight burn-in, or that burn-in feeling of the lactic acid in your muscles. This is good. This will strengthen your muscles, improve your muscle size, and it will improve the strength of your tendons and ligaments, which is exactly why I'm doing it at the moment. You want to push it, so you are, getting the last rep. You're not training to failure, but you should start feeling it at that 12th or 10th or 12th rep, whatever weight that you have it in, that it will be like, oh, I feel a little bit of a burn, and then you stop and have your 2 minutes off, 3 minutes. The break in between is arbitrary at this stage. A lot of people, talk shit about that, but take as long as you want in between until you've got the next 10 or 12 reps. The reason I am doing this, as I said before, is to strengthen my tendons and ligaments, and that's going gangbusters. So pushing past the lactic threshold is something that this whole phase has been about. I haven't maybe been that diligent in explaining this, but that's why this is just a video log for my own self before I'd start writing it up or making more videos about exactly what I'm doing. There's nothing wrong with almost training to failure. Training to failure if you've got supervision or if you really know what you're doing. One thing's sure though, pushing beyond the lactic threshold is fine, and that will strengthen your ligaments, tendons and muscles, so it is well worth doing, and you know, very, very safe if you're not pushing hard intensity. Think about it. I was thinking about times where you just do it naturally without training. I sail and I've grown up sailing, so when you go sailing and you're pulling on ropes, you're going to get to a point where you know, in a heavy wind where you're pulling on the mainsail or something like that, where you'll be, you know, your arms will be burning and it will hurt, you know, if you're pulling with your back, like you will be feeling that lactic threshold burning. When you ride in motocross and you're just blazing, you get that pump in your forearms that if you are out of practice, you get that forearm pump. That's a lactic pump. Anyone that's as Gumby as a swimmer as I am, you jump in the pool, start thrashing out 50 meters freestyle, and you'll feel that lactic burn in your lats. There's heaps of examples that you'll get yourself pushing past that lactic threshold in everyday stuff if you're just an outdoors person. I guess, yeah, climbing, you feel that forearm pump as well. There's nothing wrong with it, basically, is what I'm trying to say. But that's why stretching at this stage is, you know, as a 1-to-1 ratio with strength training is really important. So if you've only got time to do an hour, maybe do 30 minutes of weights and 30 minutes of stretching. After I stretch after doing weights, I look way bigger than after I just finished doing my weights. So you finish off doing your weights and you'll walk past the mirror and yeah, you look pretty big. Then you'll go stretch for 30 minutes and come back and look out, and you'll see all the blood vessels pumping out of your arms. You'll see that really veiny look that people hate. I couldn't care less as long as I'm massive. No, as long as I'm strong, whatever. It can look pretty veiny and pretty weird, but you'll see all the blood vessels are really open up from stretching, and that's what will make you grow. And you know, they play off each other. So flexibility will make you strong, as weights will make you strong as well. This is a long video, but I thought this was worth explaining because maybe there's a bit of confusion in there through speaking to a few mates about my methods. But everybody's seemingly got the right idea from what they're doing, which is good. The consistency thing is the most important thing by far. Diet is the second most important thing by far, because both of them, I guess, require consistency. Third is flexibility. You know, it's until all this stuff is really worked out, before you even get to the really serious energy conversion things like the ATP to ADP, your anaerobic and aerobic conditioning, to really get the most out of those, you want to have decent condition and have decent muscle flexibility. So that's what we're doing, and all of those aren't possible without diet. That's a long video. Sorry, I'll bang on tomorrow.